Fire type time. I can't believe that after this one, I'll officially have finished the main 3 Pokemon types. 3 out of however many there are left. I try not to think about it, I know it's a lot. I'm just gonna relax and enjoy the sculpting journey. For now, it's time to focus on the fire types, so let's move on to the sketch. The one idea I had on my mind for this scene was a campfire. I really wanted them to chill in front of a warm fire, telling each other stories, roasting marshmallows. Nothing too complicated, so I don't struggle, which, let's be honest, I'm gonna find a way to struggle. But I felt like this was doable. The Pokemon I went with this time are Ponyta, Darumaka, Vulpix, Numel, Sizzlipede, and Victini. Now that I think about it, Sizzlipede might actually make me cry, cause he's gonna be so small. How am I gonna sculpt that? Why do I do this to myself? See, I told you, I already found a way to struggle somehow. Let's get to it, I guess.
Sculpting!
First off, I'm going to get the campfire centerpiece sculpted. Here's my foil structure. It's kinda just a lump. Then I start giving it more shape and building up the fancy flames. I really liked sculpting this piece because it was a fun organic shape, and I always loved adding swirls. Adding in one more swirl. I sculpted lots and lots of small rocks to stick around the bottom of the fire. There's our fire pit.
Next.
Now time for the rock that Darumaka will be standing on top of. It starts out as a lump, then I flatten it out in certain areas and smooth on some ridges with extra clay. Ta-da!
Next.
For Ponyta, I add clay to the foil base and shape up the muzzle. Then I smooth on the hind legs. And the front legs. Hopefully this looks somewhat correct. I made her ears and then got started on the flaming mane. It was very difficult because I actually didn't know how I was going to sculpt the mane to make it look flame-like. There wouldn't be any strands and would mostly be one entity, so I had to do a lot of smoothing out. I also made tiny flame bits for the legs. I made the bigger flames into separate sections. The top of the head, the back, and the tail would be their own flame bunch. Wow, I really like how Ponyta turned out.
Next.
On to Numel. I clayed up the base and made sure the head and body were extra bulbous, cause Numel is a very cutely round Pokemon. Most of her was made from round little balls of clay. I smoothed on her round legs and ears. And sculpted her little hairpiece. She turned out so cute.
Next.
Vulpix next. I clayed up and smoothed on her snout. Then made her pointy little ears. Time for the many swirls I get to roll up. I made 3 swirls for the top of her head for her hair. And after I finished up her legs, I finally got to making bigger swirls for her tail. I was worried I couldn't fit them all on because there was a lot. But I managed it somehow. Here's Vulpix.
Next.
Now Darumaka starts out as a very round little blob, before I sculpt on some lumps for his arms and legs. He also gets swirls. Lots of swirls in this video. I made his tiny feet and hands and popped them on. I quickly made his marshmallow on a stick using a wire piece I cut. And made a huge mallow, as he deserves. Darumaka and his marshmallow.
Next.
For Victini, I go ahead and mold his little body and legs before I make his big ears and stick them on. Now this part is a little tricky, because Victini's ears are connected together to create a big V on his head. So I cut up a separate piece and try my best to fit it on his head evenly. I then sculpt his little wings. And oh! I get to make more swirls! What is this, Junji Ito spiral? They're really taking over this video. Victini's done.
Next.
Time for the tiny sizzlepede I've been afraid of. I flattened a long strip of clay and curled it in on itself for his body. I then sculpted his teensy tiny little stash and popped on his many little feets. Surprisingly, the making of Sizzlepede was pretty painless. There weren't too many parts and I barely broke a sweat. I made myself anxious for nothing. Now they're all ready to go into the oven and get primed.
Paint time!
I painted the campfire orange, red, and yellow. And for the rocks, I mixed a warm gray. I painted the orange section on top of the red and then separated them with defining lines. I continued to do that for the yellow section also. I carefully shaped in the flames on both sides. Then I added some flickers of yellow to the fire. Lastly, I carefully started painting the rocks, making sure to get into all the crevices. I added highlights with yellow because the fire is lit up on the rocks and I wanted to show that. Finished.
Next.
The rock was painted with the same gray from before. I also highlighted it with some shades of gray and warm yellow spots. Quickly finished.
Next.
For Ponita, I mixed a super pale cream color, a dark gray, and used the same red, yellow, and orange for her flames. I roughly swirled on the flames first with the orange. Then filled in the remaining spots with yellow. Highlighting it a bit with the brighter yellow. And then coming in with a bit of red. I painted in the hooves and then her inner ears. Now time to carefully paint her concerned looking face, which wasn't too difficult. I kinda like making ponies. What if I make a My Little Pony series? I'll have to note that down.
Next.
Nummel was painted with a pale yellow, cream, a warm green, and a bit of gray. I painted in the cream spots on her nose and belly. Then got to work on the big patch of green on her back. Now the eyes were a lot of work. There's a ring of gray that I had to paint evenly on both sides before I colored her droopy lids and pupil in the center. I had to be so precise. But Numble is done.
Next.
I painted Vulpix with a dark reddish brown and a reddish orange, mostly just two colors here. I highlighted the tail and hair to make it pop a little more. Her face was also pretty easy to paint on. And there she is.
Next.
Darumaka's turn now. I used red, yellow, and orange. Again, those three colors are a staple for the fire type theme. For his marshmallow on a stick, I used just plain old brown and white. Painting the base colors on his body wasn't too hard. I messily dabbled on some watered down black paint for the scorched part of the marshmallow. Now I paint on the face and belly spots that he has. I was so worried I'd mess up outlining his mouth, but it turned out okay, I think.
Next.
Victini was painted with more cream and orange. Another easy two-colored Pokemon to paint. I just had to add the orange to the V on his ears and his feet. And quickly painted on his happy expression. Victini finished.
Next.
Finally, for Sizzlepede, I used orange and a light and dark red. That's about it for him. Painted in his tiny triangle marking and mustache with orange. And the darker red was for the sections on his back. The tiniest little guy is painted.
Next.
The base was painted a dark brown first. Then I layered on many shades of light brown in the center coming outwards, because that's where the campfire would be. And I wanted the ground to indicate that light source. I added specks of light on the ground and painted in some pebbles. And that's our base. Now time to assemble them all together.
Success! Whoopee!
So to compare, Ponita's flames could have been a bit bigger, and I realized a little too late that Darumaka's arms were a little big and high up on his body. It doesn't ruin anything, so I'm not too bothered. Vulpix and Nummo also ended up larger in the end result, and I forgot to paint Victini's little tooth. I didn't realize I was so off. At least it still looks nice despite not matching my sketch. Anyway, I did it! I can finally put all 3 sets of sculptures together. Water, fire, and grass are done. Wow, that's like 18 Pokemon. It's so satisfying to have them all next to each other. Also, Lapras is so big compared to everyone else, oh my gosh. Oh well. We're just getting started, so I hope you stick around for the next Pokemon type sculpture I work on, or even another random project. It's fun making and editing these videos, so I've been so happy to see all the supportive comments. It's great motivation. I hope to see you again next time. Thank you so much for watching.
Bye-bye!